So the process that we're going to be doing today is a collage. I know that right now we're thinking a lot about this season is a season of traditions, right? And so our focus for our collage today is going to be on tradition, whether it's a family tradition, a tradition with friends, maybe a community tradition or cultural tradition. November and December tend to be like holiday heavy and tradition rich. So last week, I encouraged us to think about at least one tradition that you're a part of, that you practice. Maybe it's a tradition that got passed down to you from other generations. Or maybe it's a tradition that you started that you get to pass down to future generations. But whatever that tradition is, and think about that and to bring in supplies that kind of help express that tradition. So maybe it's that tradition is a ritual that you practice. Maybe it's a specific meal. Maybe it's a certain place that you go. Maybe it's a gift that you always give or receive, or an item that you wear. Whatever tradition that is, whatever tradition that you're thinking of, gather those supplies. I'll share the supplies that I have for my collage today. Oh, we'll do this. The supplies that I have for my collage today are some cut up pieces of magazine, some images and words from a magazine. I also have some scraps of paper that I've collected because I'm a hoarder and I can't get rid of little scraps of paper. But I also have some markers and pens as well. I want to say before we get started that whatever supply that you have, whether it's magazine images, images from a junk mail, words, photos that you're bringing in, a recipe maybe that you're bringing in, whatever it is that you're bringing in is good. One of the things that I love about collage is that there's nothing that's set in stone. You know, collage is all about bringing in these different pieces and then gluing them together to make a whole piece. And there's something that's really nice about the idea of taking all these pieces that don't typically go together and bringing them together to make a whole piece. And so that's kind of the idea that we're going to going with today, bringing these different pieces, whatever pieces they are that we've collected, bringing those pieces in and collaging them together while we're thinking about that tradition. Now I'll share the tradition that I was thinking about just to kind of help get us started. The tradition that I was thinking about around this time, I always think about food. The holidays that show up this time of year definitely center around food or involve food. And so one of the traditions that I thought of that I'm going to collage about today is pie. My grandmother was known for her apple pie, and I have some really wonderful memories of sitting for many times, sitting and watching her make this pie. Not just learning the recipe, but learning how she cut the apples, how she picked the apples, how she layered the pie, the care that she took with each of those pieces. And so today I brought in some different supplies to kind of express that that tradition. It's not something that has a huge emphasis, but it's a tradition, a process that I do that really connects me to my grandmother, connects me to my family. So whether I'm with my family or not during this season, making this apple pie is a way to feel connected, even in that separation, if that makes sense. And so today I'm going to use my pieces to kind of express that apple pie tradition. So go ahead and get your pieces out. I'm not sure the best way to do this, so I'm just going to move supplies over. If you have your journal, go ahead and open it up to a clean page. But know that if you don't have your journal yet, you can work off of a regular piece of paper and then glue that in or tape it in once you get the journal. So as I shared, I'm going to be making, collaging some images that help express my apple pie tradition that I think about during this season. And so again, the supplies that I have are just like pages, images, and words that I cut from a magazine, a dictionary, some scraps of paper, some markers and pens. So whatever supply that you're bringing in, whatever supply you have is perfect for this process today. And if you don't have images or supplies pulled out just yet, know that that's okay too. Maybe this is a time to look through those magazines or that recipe book or whatever it is and pull those pieces out. Know that a collage is not just about magazine pages. It's also about drawing and adding photos in and words even. So whatever it is you have, know that that's good. I'm going to start off just to kind of help me keep my focus. I'm going to write at the top of mine, apple pie. Because that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. I'm going to pull out a really good first step when it comes to collaging is just laying your supplies out so you can kind of see what you have. So I'm just going to do that right now, just kind of spread out the different materials that I have so I can see all that I'm working with. And I'm going to start building my apple pie, expressing that tradition. And so just take your time with it today. Know that it doesn't have to be perfect, whatever you're doing. It doesn't have to be exact. But the wonderful thing about doing a collage based on a tradition that we practice is that it gives us time to really think about that tradition. You know, I'm doing one on apple pie, but know that it doesn't have to be that way. It can be any sort of tradition that you take part in, any tradition that's meaningful to you. And again, it doesn't have to be a tradition that you practice with your extended family or certain loved ones. It could be just a tradition that you practice on your own as well. But think about those things that get passed down, that tradition. Let's make our collage to just kind of express this. We're going to be doing a two-part project today. So making this collage, and then we're going to have a little moment of reflective writing, just a little moment. But this will give us time as we're making it to kind of think about that tradition and what makes it meaningful to us. And so with collage, one of the great things is that nothing stays as it is. Like as you're building this collage, you can cut and arrange and rearrange. You don't have to be tied down to the first thing you put. And so there are often times that when I'm making my collage that I'll cut things or make things that I don't even end up using. And that's okay. And just take your time right now thinking about whatever tradition it is that you practice, whoever you practice it with, whether it's loved ones, community, or even just yourself. And take time to think about that tradition as you're expressing it with this collage. Because what I'm thinking about is food-based and thinking about that recipe that my grandmother used and how, you know, even over the years that recipe may have been tweaked a little bit. But thinking about like the process, the care she took to pick out those supplies and bring them together, the love that she put into that making part. And so I want to encourage you to think about all those little details about that tradition that you practice. What makes it special? Why it's a tradition that you connect to. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can be something super simple. Yeah, I've shared in this group before, um, a simple tradition that I practiced that maybe wasn't originally a tradition, but became one, as my mother has said multiple times that you need a splash of red in every room. And so even though red is not my color, it's a tradition that I still follow today, no matter where I live or who I'm with. There's always that little splash of red. And it's because that connects me. I feel like that connects me to my mom in that way. So just take your time now. Just kind of build that collage. And while you're thinking about it, just think about those things that make it special. Maybe who's practiced it, who you get to share that with, or even if it's just a practice that you do yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Just start building that collage. Take your time with it. It doesn't have to be perfect, thank goodness, right? I think sometimes that can be the hardest part is getting past that idea of it being perfect. And I think what makes them special is the time we get to make and think about what we're making. So I'm just, for me, I shared, I'm thinking about the apple pie that my grandma used to make, that I used to watch, that I make, or watch her make, that I make now. And so my collage is centered around that apple pie making tradition. I'm just kind of making my own little pie out of collage materials. Know that it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's not about perfection. It's just about taking that time to think on those things. Reminded of the meaning behind those traditions. And however you're building your collage, whether it's literal or just feelings and colors, however you're building it is good. Whatever you're doing is good. However it's turning out is good. I want to encourage you, as you're making your collage, as you're building those pieces together, to really think on that tradition. I know I've said that several times already, but I think that's the nice thing about this tradition or this practice, is that you do get to spend time thinking as you're making and really putting intention behind that act. So whatever that collage is, whatever that tradition is, yourself focus on that as you're making. As you're creating. However that looks, whatever that is. Whether it's collaging magazine images, whether it's collaging words, adding colors, or just drawing. Know that however you're doing this collage, however you're arranging it, rearranging it, adding to it is good. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just all about that making, that process of adding those pieces together, knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see that mine is nothing super fancy, just building my little pie. You've given me a chance to think about the meaning behind that tradition that gets passed down, that's been passed down. I can think on the different things that make that special, the making part, but also all the different people who have eaten it over the years that she was able to share it with, that I'm able to share it with, and the way it connects me to my family and the people I care about. As you're just building that collage. Maybe it's just a single element. It doesn't have to be a huge collage or fill a whole page. We're just taking time to think on those and kind of build this collage to express that tradition for us. Again, it doesn't have to be something that we share. Sometimes the stuff we put in our journal is just for us, and that's okay. Just kind of take your time making, whether it's doing drawings, whether it's collaging those colors together. Whatever it is that helps you express that tradition. Know that whatever mark you make, whatever piece you're collaging, whatever drawing or word that you use is good and right. Sometimes it may be about adding pieces and taking away pieces. Know that what you make, you don't have to stick with it. It can change. And I think that's one of the nice things about doing a collage, is that you don't have to stick with the first thing you make. It can be whatever you like, whatever happens, whatever comes. I think collage is a very intuitive process. And even if we don't have experience making collage before, we can tell when something feels right or when it doesn't feel right. And so by moving those things around, you have that feeling like, oh, this is missing something, or I need to add something to it, or maybe this isn't the image that I need today, and that's okay. And I hope that you find as you're doing this collage too, that you're starting to notice that as you're making it, seeing that moving things around and adding to it. Um, I think there's something that's really fun and enjoyable about that um, making process, that arranging and rearranging um, process. But just take your time with it. And again, I just want to encourage you as you're doing this collage, to spend time thinking about whatever tradition that is and what makes it special, right? What makes it meaningful? Is it the person you do it with, um, or the people it reminds you of? Is it the practice of sharing it with the others? Does it have memory, hold wonderful memories? Whatever that tradition is, whatever that reason is, just kind of think about that as you're making this collage. I know sometimes we can feel a little distracted as we're making, and know that that is okay. When we do get distracted, it's just our brain doing what it was naturally made to do, right? Think and process. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you do find yourself getting a little distracted, just be gentle with yourself and just guide your thoughts back to that, the collage in front of you, and that tradition that holds meaning. Again, whatever that tradition is. And it can be a drawing, it can be the collage of different magazine images or colored paper. It can be a greeting card that has a perfect image in it, a photo. Whatever it is that you're pulling in, know that it's good. Maybe you're not using all the pieces that you prepped. I know one of the things that I do when it comes to collage is I'll go ahead and cut out a bunch of things. And then I don't even use half of them, and that's okay. I can use them on a later collage. It doesn't have to be used right now. But know that you can move things around. You can change it. You're not tied down to that first placement. And so just take your time with it. We may not finish our collage while we're together today, and that's okay. Maybe it's something that we continue to work on. And there's nothing wrong with that. And when you find the placement that you like, go ahead and start gluing those down. You know, if you have your kit that came in the mail, you can use that glue stick. But no, you can also use any sort of glue, any tape. I have a friend who is like a pro at collage. That's what she does, her art practice. And she uses packing tape for everything. So it doesn't have to be the glue stick that we're using or that came in the kit. It can be any adhesive. Whatever you have around you works well. Just kind of take your time with it today, doing that building of collage, gluing down of images or colors. I know I like doing drawings, but I know my hand is super shaky. So this gives me a chance to kind of accept that shakiness that I have and know that whatever I make, whatever I draw or write, is good. Shaky lines and all, not straight cut out images. All of that is good and okay. Whatever you make is good and right. Again, I just want to encourage you to think about that tradition and the meaning behind it as you're making. What makes it special to you? What makes it feel important and meaningful? So I'm going to say that my piece I've been working on, I'm not filling out my whole page, but know that you can if you want to. It doesn't have to be a small section. It can be a full page of collage, or it can be just one image or one word. But whatever it is that you're working on, however it looks, know that that's okay. And if you're getting to a place where you find like you're getting to a stopping place, I realized that I didn't want to do that whole page. I wanted to do just little pieces of it. But if you're getting to that stopping place, I want to encourage you to spend some time reflecting, right? Taking a moment, and I'm going to do that right now too. So if you're at that stopping place, go ahead and get your pen or pencil, whatever it is that you are um, writing with, that you're going to write with today. And just take a moment, like I've been saying this whole process so far, thinking about that tradition and what makes it meaningful, what makes it special to you. What is it about that tradition that you feel connected to? Just take a moment to write that down. It can be one word, it can be one sentence, it can be 6 pages of words. But whatever words come into your head as you think about that tradition, go ahead and write that down. Just take your time to write it down. It doesn't have to be a perfect poem or an excellently worded essay. Um, just a stream of consciousness writing is fine too. Writing down every word that pops into your head, or maybe it just means writing one word down. Maybe this tradition brings in some wonderful memories. Maybe it reminds you of a specific person in your life. Whatever it is, just take a moment right now to write that down. I know that sometimes it's kind of hard to find the words to write, but know that whatever word you put down, whatever combination of words that you put down is good, because this journal is only for us. It doesn't have to be written or done in a certain way. However you write it is good. I just want to encourage you to take a moment right now to think on that tradition and to write a little reflection on it. Maybe the tradition you're thinking of isn't one you've practiced in a while. Maybe this time thinking on that tradition has kind of brought that tradition, that practice back into your mind. And maybe it's a new tradition that you've started. Maybe it's a tradition that's been passed down through generations that you still get to pass on. But whatever that is, whatever that tradition, whatever the collage you're making, whatever words are showing up, I just want to encourage you to focus your attention on that right now, thinking about the tradition itself, the practice, the process, the people that are involved, or the memories and thoughts that it brings up. This is a season that is rich with traditions, all these wonderful holidays that come up during this time of year. And, maybe not all those holidays have wonderful memories associated with it. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be a tradition that's associated with these holidays. But maybe, like I shared earlier, it's a silly little tradition that you practice that you didn't even realize was a tradition, like putting a little red in every room, like I shared earlier. So know that it doesn't have to be centered around the holidays, but just a tradition that you practice, thinking about why it is that that's special. Know that whatever tradition that is and however you've chosen to express it is good. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But whatever way you do it is just right. And maybe your collage is a combination of many things, or maybe it's just one thing, and that's okay too. And again, I just want to encourage you to spend some time just reflecting and doing a little writing based on that collage, based on that tradition that's been in your mind.